Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling an absolute monster of a puzzle in international taxation, the OECD Model Convention, and specifically how to actually avoid getting taxed twice. It's a high-stakes world out there with incredibly strict rules and branching paths. But don't worry, we're going to break this whole thing down step by step. Right, so how exactly do you navigate international taxation without taking a double hit? Well, let's put our tax detective hats on for a second. We're going to treat this framework like a roadmap to solving a massive financial mystery. Because let's face it, if you're doing business across borders and you get this wrong, you're literally paying taxes on the exact same income in two completely different countries. And nobody wants that. Part 1. The double tax dilemma, the fundamental problem. Part 2. Checking for an agreement, the first branching path. Okay, so the absolute most crucial starting point is asking this foundational question right out of the gate. Does a double tax agreement even exist between the two countries involved? I mean, you simply can't assume that just because your business is global, a safety net is automatically there to catch you. You have to ask definitively, is there an agreement?
And this brings us to an immediate fork in the road. If the answer is yes, awesome, we move deeper into the specific rules of the treaty. But if the answer is no, well, our path drastically changes. It's a super simple binary choice, but it literally dictates the whole shebang moving forward.
Part 3. When national law applies, the no agreement path. Let's see what happens on that no branch. Notice how absolute and final this outcome really is. As you can see, national law applies, period. This is our first major dead end. Without an agreement in place, you are entirely subject to overlapping national tax laws. There's zero international treaty shields protect you, and that double tax dilemma, it becomes a stark, very expensive reality.
Part 4. Persons covered. Article 1 details.
But hey, let's jump back to the yes path, because even if a treaty does exist, our detective work isn't quite over yet. Now we have to ask, does the agreement actually apply to this specific taxpayer? To figure that out, we've got to look at the strict definition of persons covered under Article 1 of the OECD Model Convention. You can really think of this article as the vital gatekeeper. Let's look directly at the source text for this rule. It explicitly states, quote, "This convention shall apply to persons who are residents of one or both contracting states." The text also helpfully points us over to Article 3, Paragraph 1a to properly define what persons means, and Article 4 to define residents. The absolute core takeaway here is residency. This convention doesn't just offer some blanket protection to anyone doing business. No, it specifically protects verified residents of the states that actually sign the treaty. So what happens if they aren't a resident? Well, the answer is no. And this leads us straight into the exact same phrasing as our very first dead end. There is simply no way to apply the double tax agreement. Failing that Article 1 residency test immediately throws you right back out into the cold with overlapping national laws. Part 5. Finding distributive rules. Now, assuming our tax detective work confirms that, yes, they actually are a covered person, and we make it past the gatekeeper, the next logical step in the maze is asking, what is the applicable distribution rule? Because now that we know the treaty applies, we really have to nail down exactly how the taxing rights are allocated or distributed between the two countries involved. So to find the correct rule, we evaluate a few very specific factors. We look closely at the articles of the agreement, we analyze the definitions of each element, and of course, we examine the actual sources of the income. This right here is the detailed mechanics of the analysis, applying the broad strokes of an international treaty down to the granular, everyday financial reality. Part 6. Issuing the final opinion. Okay, let's see how all of this builds toward the ultimate goal of the entire legal process. Once we've identified the correct distributive rules, we finally reach the culmination of our investigation. As we reach the end of our framework, the sequence is super clear. You study the specific article, you carefully apply its provisions to your unique case, and finally, you issue a formal opinion. This logically derived, legally sound opinion, that is the prize at the center of the maze. It's basically your definitive answer on how to proceed safely. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, how secure is your current international tax strategy? Just think about how easily a single no, whether it's a missing agreement or a failed residency test, can instantly change your entire financial landscape. Are you truly prepared to navigate these branching global rules? It's definitely a complex system, but structured logic is absolutely your best defense. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep exploring the structures that shape our world.